Articles of impeachment have been filed. I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. If you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. I was shocked on the way driving home to do this live, the amount of coverage that does not exist about this breaking news, and we are covering it here on Lights On. If you're new to the show, this is the home for movement. I'm going to be joined by three people today who, along with me, are at the heart of the efforts, the rightful, what should be normal, mainstream, everyday conversation efforts to have this criminal and his administration removed from power now. Representative Shri Thanedar today introduced articles of impeachment against Donald J. Trump. We are going to go through those articles. There is an abuse of power, a tyranny aspect, multiple articles of impeachment that we're going to go through on this show today. I'm really excited to be joined by one person who you met last week on this show on a episode that really took off, and it's just proof of the interest, the national mood, why everybody should be talking about this. An episode with Gabe Garbowit of Citizens Impeachment. He has a grassroots citizen-led effort to force members of Congress to go on the record about their position. The other two people that I'm really happy to have on the show for the first time are Dave Mytych and Hannah Marley of the Mayday Movement USA. If you watch Lights On, you know I've been telling you about it. They have a major installation on the National Mall starting on May 1st. We need bodies in Washington, D.C. starting on May 1st. So right now, I'm going to welcome my friends to the show, Dave, Hannah, and Gabe. Welcome all to Lights On. So good to have you all.
Thank you.
So you know what, Dave, you and I were talking on the phone before we started the live show as I was driving here. Why don't you kind of give our viewers a rundown of these articles that were introduced by Representative Thanedar today?
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Jessica, for having us on. These articles were introduced today. I'm just a regular citizen, day job, volunteer though with Mayday Movement. I'm in charge of congressional outreach. And got an email from the chief of staff. I've been in contact with Representative Thanedar this past week and a half, and articles were filed today. A lot of good stuff in there. They're serious. They're strong articles, and I feel confident that there is a possibility of these articles being, introduced and voted on, and President Trump impeached.
Absolutely. And you said you come to this as a citizen, which I really am too. You know, I had a diversion into politics as the beginning of my story back in 2016, but ultimately I am in this because I'm a citizen who cares about my country, and I don't want to see democracy die on my watch. Dave, your name came to me through Gabe. I was aware of the Mayday movement, but not specifically of you. And Gabe told me there is this guy named Dave who has just been a powerhouse in lobbying Congress. I know that you have been so effective. Gabe was tuned into this news today. Gabe, what was your reaction when you heard that these articles were filed?
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, this is the first time since Trump has been in office that anybody has bothered to write down the impeachable offenses that he has done in his time in office and directly submitted it to the Congress. And now there it is right there in the official text and for all the American public to see. It's an incredible development.
Yeah, it really, really is. Now, I'm going to bring up a full disclosure to our audience. I've been going through this breaking news as I've been driving today and just literally flew here. Thank God I didn't get a ticket to get this live show up. But we're going to go through these articles together. And I just want to remind everybody as we're doing this, there's so many naysayers out there and they're not among the people. They're not among the people. They're among the establishment, among the media, among, as God we know, members of Congress who want to make it seem like the normal constitutional action is outrageous, is extreme, when we literally have a felon, disqualified so-called president, squatter, I call him, in the White House, committing multiple crimes every day, abducting people off the streets, total violation of their human rights, First Amendment rights, insane tariffs that are going to totally sabotage our economy, pardoning insurrectionists on day one. I could go on and on and on. And we are supposed to think as a society that it's extreme, or what I heard from, I think Dave told me this, a quote unquote visceral reaction to bring articles of impeachment. I mean, Dave, this is exactly what needs to happen. And it's like, frankly, a few months too late, is it not? Dave, you're muted. Let's just press your unmute button there on the screen.
Thank you. This idea that having a visceral reaction to something is a negative thing. You can both have a visceral reaction and also be justified in that visceral reaction. So, there's members of Congress who are playing politics as usual on the Hill. There's about 15 right now, though, that are, as Al Green would say, liberated Democrats, people that are saying out in the open that they support impeachment of this president. So, our message to Congress is that we will be there on May 1st. We are peaceful. Okay, that's very important to call out, that we are a peaceful movement. We'll be there on the Mall 24/7 until Trump is impeached, convicted, and removed. That's the most important message and the biggest takeaway right now. We have to convey to our representatives in Congress that this is the only way now. The Supreme Court's out, right? That ship has sailed. It's up to the people, and we will be successful. That is the objective: impeach, convict, and remove. And that's what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. As you were speaking, we got Hannah back, which is great. And I brought up the articles. I also dropped the link in the live chat, so you can go and find them now. It's a Google Drive. You can go read them yourself. The articles that were introduced are obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power, usurpation of appropriations power, abuse of trade powers and international aggression, violation of First Amendment rights, creation of an unlawful office, bribery and corruption, and tyrannical overreach. Now, Hannah, you are a lawyer. This is very much your field. I'm really interested to please first give us an introduction, tell us who you are, and tell us how your reaction to these articles being filed today.
Yeah, so I am a government accountability attorney. I kind of fell into that category because I have a fundamental mistrust of too much concentrated power. And that led me to the Mayday movement in this instance, because only the Mayday movement that I was able to find until I met Gabe and citizens impeachment was actually focused on impeachment and removal as the only possible lawful answer to the situation we were in. And these articles of impeachment, I think, are excellently crafted, which is no surprise given the amount of work that went into them. And they really do a great job articulating things that often feel too big to write into chunks of law breakage, law breakage, law breakage, and being able to do that in a clean way that shows the problem in an ongoing administration problem, not something that can be like, oh, well, they cured that and we can just move on. No, this is who this administration is. This is their fundamental character, and it is all wrong for a constitutional government.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, I saw a comment. We're going to shoot down the naysayers on this show because this is so important. Somebody said Representative Shri Thanedar does not have a lot of power. Well, I beg to differ. One with God is a majority, one with the right idea. Adam Schiff, that he said that. Adam Schiff himself said a version of that quote when he was an impeachment manager. One with God is a majority. Same Adam Schiff that this weekend with Jen Psaki, when she brought up the question of impeachment, said, no, now's not the time, not for it. We need to start normalizing the power of the right idea. I think that Shri Thanedar is incredibly powerful. Why? Why? Because he's doing the right thing, because he has millions of Americans that are filling the streets on a near weekly basis behind him. 20%, Dave, you told me, I think in a poll, 20% of Republicans are for impeachment of Donald J. Trump. I think, and I want to bring in Dave and Gabe on this because, Gabe, you're tracking the members who are going on the record for impeachment, and that list is growing. But this is not a powerless position. This is not something that is doomed to fail. I mean, this is exactly what can and should be done now, isn't it?
Yeah, let me just say also about this is like a thing I hear constantly about members of Congress, like somehow despite Congress being the most powerful branch of our government, and in this particular case, an individual member of Congress can bring articles of impeachment and can force an up or down vote in the House if they choose to on them. The idea that it's powerless is like a very, very strange thing to believe, and also just totally doesn't match reality. I think when I think of power, I think of people who are able to take something that is like, okay, something like Trump must be impeached, and turn that into a concrete legislative action that actually can move and turn into the result, which is him eventually getting removed from office. And so, yeah, of course, an individual member is incredibly powerful. And I think there is a push, especially from people like at the establishment level, the people who are most comfortable in their own power, to try to tell everybody, oh yeah, everybody else has no power at all. There is no reason to do anything because like nothing is going to matter. Yeah, like of course they're going to say that. It doesn't, I mean, it's just not true. So don't really know what else to say about it other than that.
It's not. Yeah. We are totally like, that's what this show is all about. That's what and Hannah, I want to say hi to you. I have been promoting the peaceful constitutional removal and really the peaceful constitutional blockage of Trump's presidency to begin with via the 14th Amendment. And it's why this show and I founded 14th Now back in January. But I am totally on board with impeachment. I'm totally on board with any and all constitutional means. And Dave, you and I were talking about this. We are literally standing in the breach between this country and a civil war. Our advocacy for the peaceful means and what these lawmakers can and must do are what's keeping us from violence. Is it not?
Absolutely. You look at figures in our nation's history, such as MLK. Martin Luther King his whole movement was based on peace, right? That doesn't mean that there wasn't sacrifice and it wasn't hard. There were deaths, there was tragedy, but he was successful. He was successful because he was peaceful. And we're trying our hardest to go about this in a way that reflects the true values of most Americans, and that is love, empathy, respect. There's a lot of good people in this country, and that's why we are involved in trying to impeach and remove him.
Yeah, it really is the opposite of a zero-sum game. This is like, and I even bring it all the way up to friggin' Donald Trump, because this man is one. I was just having this conversation 2 hours ago with somebody about how Donald Trump is such a miserable individual who has avoided the truth about himself. This man, how old is the guy? Almost 80 years old. His whole life, 8 decades on this earth, has not gotten to know himself. He's been avoiding it. He's afraid of it. The moment this man finally gets a taste of accountability, that will be the greatest gift that he has ever been given, because he's been living one hell of a lie for his
We're going to be humbling him, Jessica. He's going to be humbled.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Hannah, I know you got to get out of here soon, and I'm so grateful for your time tonight, but I want you, as a government accountability lawyer, we really, and this is what this show is all about. These representatives in Congress represent the people. They have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. Generations of our forefathers and foremothers have died for this country and that Constitution. Talk to me about the obligation that these members of Congress have to stand with law right now.
It is axiomatic. It is fundamental to a functional government that those who create laws must also be governed by them. And that applies, obviously, we're talking about how it applies to the presidency, but it also applies to the legislature. It applies to the way in which they think about what is good for their people. It's not a policy question, it's a structure question. No good policies can come out of a crumbling structure, and they are obligated to protect that structure from the decay and attack that is being put forward by the Trump administration. And that's part of what we're trying to do with the Mayday movement, is not only impress upon them the importance of that action, but give them the encouragement and political cover to do so by taking constituents from every House district and putting them in the offices of those legislators, taking constituents from every Senate district, putting them in the offices of those legislators, and also trying to send this message through education campaigns run by, of all people, middle school teachers, which I think is perfect, across the country, so that real facts about what constitutional law really does require and does not require. For example, I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain that impeachment is a full process. It's a two-step process. It doesn't just happen in the House and then he didn't leave last time. It's that it didn't actually come to full fruition through a vote to remove in the Senate. If people understood that better, I think they would feel more empowered by a system that is designed to empower them. It is designed to empower each voter to make these calls. And if we know that, if we tell them that, this will be a community that can really demand our rights back.
Yes.
And we have to. It's not optional. If we don't do it, they will be gone by the time we get to a next election. So let's stand up now.
Absolutely. If we even get to another election, we have to do it now. We absolutely do. And I'm so grateful you said that, Hannah, because that's the motto of this, of my shows all the time, is empowerment. People understanding, like, to me, this whole obscene spectacle is like, it's like an illusion. Like, it's an illusion that these clowns, these criminals have power, and we are just simply not claiming the power that we have. As soon as that paradigm changes, and it starts in consciousness with each one of us, and then it can expand to a national and global scale. Once we start recognizing the power inherent in each one of us, that cannot be overthrown. That is where the real power lies. And so we have to start acknowledging it, and we got to get on the streets. Please, everybody, join the Mayday movement. I told you last week, they are going to be in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall, just about 2 blocks west of our 314 Veterans March in D.C. Between, I think you guys are between 7th and 9th. Am I correct about that?
That's right.
7th and 9th Streets Northwest on the mall. Get there on May 1st. They need millions of people in DC starting on May 1st. This has got to be an occupation. Get yourselves there. I will be there at some point. I'm not sure exactly when, but I'll be there at some point as soon as I can. We're going to try to live stream some of the events on here on Lights On, but get yourself to DC. Show up, lobby Congress. Dave, I know you got to jump in just a minute. Do you want to give us a final word?
Yes, please join us. Please join us. I mean, take off. If you've got vacation days, use them. I'm taking off 2 weeks to come down on May 1st. And we're going to be taking people up on the Hill. We're going to be peaceful. We're going to be going into offices. We're going to be leaving paperwork behind. We have meetings scheduled on behalf of constituents, and constituents will be there. They'll be there in person. They'll be there virtually, as well as we will also be doing art. Art is a great way to combat fascist tendencies. And it's all based on the First Amendment, right? Using art as a way to combat authoritarianism. So we're going to be doing art. We're going to be doing congressional outreach, and we're going to be doing some great community traditional protesting and demonstrations. And I can guarantee you, if you come down, you are going to have an awesome time, and you're going to find a community to connect with. So yeah, please come down. MaydayMovementUSA.org if you guys want to check us out.
Absolutely. And next time, we had the graphics on Friday. I didn't have nothing ready because I just threw this together fast, but it's all there, guys. The links are in the description. Go to MaydayMovementUSA.org. Hannah and Dave, thank you so much for joining me. I think, Gabe, you're going to stick around for a few more minutes, but I really appreciate what you're doing, and congratulations, because I know that your efforts are in no small part behind these impeachment articles that were introduced today by Representative Thanedar. So I'm really honored to be in this fight with you, and thank you so much.
Thank you for covering this, Jessica. It's not everywhere, and we need you. Thanks.
My pleasure. So, Gabe, when we did our show last week together, I gotta tell our audience, we got off, and Gabe and I talked for like another hour offline. And I told Gabe, I said, this conversation is so good. Next time, we have to introduce some of this conversation to the audience, because you have such insight both into the actual impeachment process and to the thinking of these members of Congress. Maybe, just start off there, because you and I were having a conversation about how much fear, in particular, the Republicans. And by the way, what do we need? We need like 5 Republicans, just a handful of Republicans.
Yeah, I think it's actually 4 right now.
4.
I think, with all the vacancies. Yeah.
We would only need 4 Republicans for this to pass out of the House of Representatives. But you and I were talking about the level of fear and just the miserable lives that many of these Republicans live with because of being basically a slave to this con man who they know is an enemy of the state. What freedom awaits these people if they just step over onto the right side of history? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I find the fear, it is real. It's real. And obviously, this is a scary time, very scary president, blah, blah, blah. However, of course, everybody in Congress has the power to remove him from office. So the fear is somewhat irrational to me, because it's directed in the wrong place. Like, if I was a member of Congress and I was afraid of Trump and what he would do, the first thing I would try to do is remove him from power.
Tell me about it.
It just seems, it seems pretty straightforward. And
Oh
I think like one thing a lot of people outside of Congress assume about Congress is like, oh, everybody's really tightly coordinated. Everything you're seeing is like they're all talking with each other.
Well-oiled machine. No.
Yeah. And like, to be fair, I think people kind of like, especially now, because it's just gotten so ridiculous, right? Like they're starting to, there's a lot more people picking up on like, oh, wow, maybe this isn't as organized as I thought it was. But,
and by the way, for our audience, Gabe is a former Senate staffer. He worked for Senator Tina Smith. So he's been on the Hill. He knows those halls very well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's like, honestly, there is so much chaos in both the chambers of Congress. And like one of the reasons it's been so amazing to actually see this impeachment article introduced is because I know this is forcing conversations. Yeah. It is forcing them to all talk to each other about it. There has been news coverage. Honestly, I think like the primary focus of everybody was to get the articles out the door, because we just need to start having this conversation as soon as possible. So it doesn't like shock me that there's not like, wall to wall breaking news. It takes time to like send out press releases and to do all that work. But I do know, like, I was reading like an article, and like the leader of the Democrats in the House, Jeffries, was directly asked about this, right? And he said, like, I didn't even know about this was coming, which is great, by the way. Not his, like, honestly, everybody in the House can submit whatever they want, whenever they want. It's not really his prerogative. And that means a reporter contacted him. Now their office needs to think about that. Everybody else needs to think about it. And I want to see these offices. Some of these offices I am very well aware, because I've been with our organization. I've been trying to get them on the record for the last 3 weeks. I am well aware a lot of these offices, their private position is something like, oh, well, yeah, but we can't we can't talk about impeaching him. We can talk about all the other stuff except removing him. And I'd love to see them publicly talk about that. So let's have that conversation, because that's like obviously a ridiculous argument.
It is.
Yeah. And I also want to see these Republican offices. A lot of them I know. I think it's very obvious from all the reporting that's come out of Congress over years. People discount it, but it's definitely real that they're all like, I think that he sucks, and I think he is an awful person, but I'm afraid to do anything. I know that they all are having to read these. And they're for perhaps the first time since Trump has gotten to office having to read through like a listing out of all of his impeachable offenses that he has done over the course of, what are we in, a little over 3 months? Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's starting these conversations and like moving people. When people are in bubbles, that's when dangerous stuff happens. And it happens, so it's such a big problem in Congress. They are
Yeah.
constantly, they are just kind of I've campaigned for more staffer rights in Congress just because the way it's structured, a lot of staffers don't have basic labor laws applied to them, so they can't even speak out in their own offices without fear of
Wow.
losing their own jobs. But the point is, these offices, if like left to their own devices without the people
Yeah.
um rising up and demanding things, they will like work themselves into all sorts of ridiculous points of view that don't make any sense. And the only way to deal with that is through sunlight and forcing them to have these conversations. And that's why like these impeachment articles are such a big deal. I mean, yeah, look, the big establishment press is going to do what it's going to do. I'm frankly not really too worried about it because I know the momentum on this is so strong, and we already have polling that shows a majority of Americans support impeachment before an impeachment article was filed about Trump. So this is not going anywhere, and I am looking forward, and I welcome all of the conversation and feedback from all these members of Congress. And some of the things they're going to say are going to be unbelievably ridiculous. And that's where people come in to go in and be like, this is a really stupid position you've worked yourself into. It's time to actually start moving towards this come hell or high water, because Hannah was right. This is the legal mechanism we have to remove this man from power. And I still believe in the rule of law. I still believe in the I still believe in Congress's power. I think it's very clear that they can remove him from office.
Yes.
They have the means, the ability, and it is just a matter of pushing them to get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. For our new viewers, we have a lot of people in the live chat, a lot of people viewing this live right now. I just want to remind them that you're listening to Gabe Garbowit. He's a former Senate staffer who founded Citizens Impeachment. Citizens Impeachment. It's at citizensimpeachment.com. If you're not already signed up, sign up. This is a citizen-led effort to pressure members of Congress to take a stand. Do they support impeaching Donald Trump or not? This, of course, becomes all the more relevant today now that Representative Shri Thanedar has introduced the articles of impeachment. Our wonderful mod, Susan, dropped the link to those articles in the chat. I will put it in the description right after we wrap it up. Again, they are obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power, usurpation of appropriations power, abuse of trade powers and international aggression, violation of First Amendment rights, creation of an unlawful office, bribery and corruption, and tyrannical overreach. Now, Gabe, I know that you know the processes of these Senate and House chambers so well. One thing that I discussed with John Bonifaz of Free Speech for People a couple weeks ago on his impeachment campaign, which you can also sign that petition down in the description, is that literally members could be introducing these articles on a daily basis. There is nothing stopping them from forcing a vote. Now, the reporting I saw said that Rep. Thanedar does not, I didn't see a current plan to force a vote on this, but he can, right? He can force a vote anytime on these articles of impeachment.
Yeah, I don't 100% know his plan or anything. However, he did file these in such a way that on these specific articles, he can still force a vote on the House floor under Rule IX. So, yes, it's still something very much on the table. And that is 100% correct about how anybody can do this. Anybody can file these articles of impeachment. It is not a complicated process. It is not even a novel or untested process. This has been done many times before, and it can be done for this. A single member can do it. They do not need sign off from any committee. They do not need sign off from Speaker Johnson. They do not need sign off from the leaders of the Democratic Party. This is an individual decision they can do. And I think that should be very empowering to your viewers because their member of Congress can do this. Just one.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you are listening and you have not reached out yet to your member of Congress telling them that you support bringing impeachment articles against Trump, call or email them and tell them. They do not always get back to that stuff. These offices are all over the place. A project I definitely want to work on when this is done is trying to get ways for them to clarify their policies on how they listen to their constituents. But all the same, I do know all of them see that stuff. There are processes in every single office for getting your feedback, and they do see it. And you are very likely forcing conversations in these offices about whether they support impeaching Trump. And do not assume that they do if they do not tell you that they do. Ask them, and if they don't give you the answer they like, try to see how you can move them. There's many ways you can do it. But remember, it is not collectively we can make a nationwide movement. Individually, you still have tons of power to move your member of Congress, and you should use that power.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the weekend, I was talking with my friends in the 5051 DC chat, and I said they were telling us about the Booker Jeffries sit-in on the steps of the Capitol. And I said, don't let them off easy. Please ask them, are they backing articles of impeachment? Are they backing any constitutional means for removal? And if not, what the hell are they doing? Like this needs to be asked of them peacefully, but relentlessly. Any opportunity you get. I know, Gabe, you've set up an amazing mechanism for people to be involved in that directly. But this really, I mean, last time you were on, we talked about the kind of crisis of popularity that the Democratic Party has had. It drives me nuts when I listen to the news and they're like, the Democrats can't settle on a message. I'm like, here's your fucking message. Remove Donald Trump. Like, that's your message. But
very obviously so. Yeah.
Very obviously so. Listen, I've heard some off the record, and I won't share them, conversations as to the timing of these impeachment articles today, but this should be very much on their minds. If they have any hope of winning another election again, this is the cause to get behind, is it not?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Like, it's all following. If you listen to what their rhetoric is, like the next obvious question is, oh, so you support impeaching him, right? Like, you can't just talk about how he is destroying the Constitution. This is a once in a century government crisis. And then say, oh, well, let's not do the popular thing that people want us to do and that we can force the issue of at any time. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. And yeah, in terms of the timing, people are gonna say all sorts of things. It's always like with every bill in Congress, it's always the same discussions about that sort of thing. Nobody's gonna care if he's removed from office. And the only way
they'll be dancing in the streets. That's how much they'll care. Like the whole country and world will be dancing in the streets.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody's going to be like, oh, well, if it was just May 2nd instead of April 28th, the first article was introduced. Like, totally wrong mindset. The correct mindset is, how can I keep making sure this issue is more prominent, especially knowing that a majority of Americans already support this? How can I keep making this more prominent? How can I keep making the case? And how can I make my case as strong as possible to the American people so that there is a movement of people pressuring all members of Congress, not just the Democrats, the Republicans, even the reddest districts in the country? They have tons and tons of people waiting to be mobilized. And even in profoundly, like, even the most Republican district, it is very hard to deal with when a group of citizens band together and start demanding something and start telling all their friends about it. Our country is divided in many ways, but when we band together as citizens and start talking, it is not easy to deal with that. And there is not that sort of mobilization yet. It's going to get there. And I think like folks like the Mayday movement are doing incredible work by creating like a physical organizing space
right
directly outside the Capitol, which, by the way, again, all the members of Congress are very much going to notice that. When I used to, as a staffer, I used to go for walks on the National Mall in 2020 every single day. And I saw there were a few cranks there with some wild conspiracy theories. There were some very serious protests that I saw. Like, all those things matter when staffers see it. And you can look and you can see like the big special interests, they all try to find ways to put things close to the mall and close to the lawmakers because they know that that's important. And for everybody listening who can't make it to DC, in your own home districts, all those lawmakers, they go there, they do events there, and yeah, they notice that stuff. When people start making rumblings about it, it matters everywhere. And considering I was just doing the math yesterday about what we would need if every Democrat and every Republican who already voted for impeachment and conviction in the Senate did it again. I
Right.
believe we would only need 19 people total to flip in order for him to be removed from office. 19 people. This is what everybody's like saying is like such an impossible thing to do.
And I saw it in the chat just now. It says 66%, never going to happen. We need to stop putting the baseline of what needs to happen as an impossibility. We set these expectations. We set what's normal and acceptable. Stop doing that. There's a whole conversation about power. Like, acknowledge the power that we have. Can we pressure 19 people into not having the blood of democracy on their hands in letting the United States of America in 2025 become Nazi Germany? I think so. I think we have the power to do that. Let's start changing that conversation.
Absolutely. And by the way, literally every piece of legislation that you see passed, it all starts like this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
says it's impossible. And that's
Yep.
my story too, Gabe. That's totally my story, because I came to this
That's
with
right.
a legal fight that people are like, invalidate an arbitration agreement that, bans people from criticizing Donald J. Trump. Never going to happen. Do it as a pro se litigant. Never going to happen. Yeah, well, I did it. I did, not just mine, every single one of them. And no lawyer's strategy or political pundit strategy would have ever told me I could. But I listened to my heart, to that divine guidance of what I knew was right. Like, I couldn't betray myself. Ultimately, It was a matter of self-respect. Like, it started there. It started as a matter of self-respect, like honoring a woman's worth. And from that moral standpoint, amazing fruit came. You got to start there.
Absolutely. I think I think all of us have been in points in our lives where we have been beaten down or someone has told us you just can't do this thing. It is impossible. And it is almost never true. And especially in this case, it is literally not true. On our website, we actually have like a 10 bad arguments section because I've been really struck because I've now got into it's probably literally hundreds of arguments about impeachment and whether it's doable and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really struck by how bad the arguments are because the one that I always hear the most is, there's two I hear actually. I'll do the one, we don't have the votes. That's like the classic one. And what usually happens is I start like asking people about specific members. Well, do you know which ones have already voted for impeachment? No, I don't know that. Did you know that if we need 4 in the House, there are 2 that have already done so? Most people are not even aware that there are 2 Republicans in the House that have already voted to impeach Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. What do you make of this member and their statement? Right? You start getting down into the details and people start seeing, oh, these are just like, they're politicians and politicians are politicians. I think we all know what we think about politicians, but they are still people.
Yeah.
And they have to respond at some point. That is the mechanism in our Constitution. If voters demand things, they have to start listening. And people are really surprised when I tell them how infrequently voters band together and actually ask for things from members of Congress. I was talking with one office about impeachment specifically and making a statement. They told me that like maybe not even 10 people had emailed their office asking about impeachment. And it's not because, again, a majority of Americans support it. it's just because people get into that defeatist mindset, right? They're like, oh, never can happen, so why even bother?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the problem,
That's the
right?
problem. Yep.
Yeah. It's just like literally true that and for anything.
Yes. Yeah.
If
These are laws of the universe we're talking about right now, Gabe. Laws of
yeah,
the
yeah,
universe
of course. Yeah. I was a
happen to
philosopher
apply to
major.
our democracy crisis. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, there's no like people treat like vote counts like laws of physics or something, and they're just like nothing like that, right? Like
Yeah.
this is just about people and movements and building those movements. And yeah, it is so easy for me to see the reality where this happens. I think like Al Green even said it in one of his speeches about impeachment. He said like the way is before us. We just need to find the will. 100% true. It's like just objectively true. And
Yeah.
I think for people who are feeling hopeless about this, I totally understand that feeling. I've been there many times before in my life. And it's just a thing that you need to push past and say like I'm going to do what I can within my power to try to make this happen. You can feel confident knowing that there are a majority of Americans who agree with you in the want to impeach and remove Trump from office. And you go and you start going with that, and you start just like dipping your toes in the water a little bit, emailing, calling. These are things that take what? It takes 5
Very little
minutes.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Start doing that and start building. What we found, what was very interesting with the kind of the initial project we did, which by the way, one of the impeachment articles, the tyranny article that was just introduced, um, was actually, it's not the same article, but it is actually heavily forked from the thing that 600 people, not 6 million people, 600 people sent their members of Congress 3 short weeks ago. But what we found from that project was we recruited people from 90% of the congressional districts in the country to send a pre-written email at a set time. Almost everybody can send a pre-written email at a set time. But
Schedule it.
yeah, we allowed people to schedule it. It was
Yeah.
fine. And they did do those things. We actually had a few offices, or I don't want to exaggerate. We had one office of the initial 7. It's since expanded well beyond the 7 that came in the first 48 hours. But you had one office call and be like, yes, I get it. You have a bunch of constituents in our district who really care about this. Okay, fine. We support impeachment. Um, but what I was really stunned by, and I didn't even anticipate, is that people who sent those original emails on their own started doing their own thing. I had one person reach out to me as like, "Hey, I wanted my own state to have like a thing where we just organize around impeachment. Can I do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. You don't need my
Right.
you don't
Just
need my sign
take
off. Yeah, you're a citizen. You can do whatever
exactly.
you want." And they did, and they now have a large group of people that they've gone, and their state it's a red state. They don't care. They're going and they are starting to meet with offices. They wrote letters to the editors of their papers. And yeah, and like that is amazing to me. I love that stuff. And I think once people start coming out of that like defensive crutch of like this can never work, there's no point in even trying, they start getting really surprised about all of the levers of power that they have available to them. And yet, I really appreciated that you shared your story, Jessica, because yeah, that is like a classic example of everybody says it can't be done. Oh yeah, it's impossible. Not because of any law of physics, just like, no, just decided it can't because yeah, I don't want to help with this or whatever it is that people do. I think some people also really like almost enjoy killing hope in other people.
But listen, courage takes, jumping off, like I always have this vision in my mind going back to when I made that first decision to sue Trump. And it was like, I had to jump off the cliff and trust that I was going to get wings, and you have to have that
Yeah.
you have to have that trust in the beginning. And the trust is not without foundation. I mean, for me, it was a very spiritual decision. You know, it was totally grounded in like, this is the righteous action. I am shielded by all of this spiritual armor of truth, of principle, of self-respect, all of these things I know are going to take me forward. Was it easy? No. Did I have, you know, years of battling Trump in the courts, and was I treated like a political prisoner and all? Yes. But was it worth it? Absolutely. And in the end, I won. I won because I started from that right basis. I never doubted it. We have to start from the right place. If you're new to the chat, if you're new to the show, we are reporting almost singularly tonight on Lights On the articles of impeachment that have been filed by Representative Shri Thanedar. These are the first articles of impeachment that have been filed. We, of course, know that Representative Al Green has been promising to file them for some time now. He may come along with his own, but these are the first filed. It's about a 29-page document. It's I will put the link to this document in the description after we wrap up. Among those articles, obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power, creation of an unlawful office, tyrannical overreach. Obviously, this man, Donald J. Trump, and his criminal administration commit multiple impeachable offenses on a daily basis, and it is beyond time that this conversation be normalized. So in the spirit of that, in the spirit of this being, I tell you guys this all the time, like, I don't do this show because I want to be a podcaster. I do this show because I can't afford to be silent right now. And I'm doing something that I think very few other people are doing, with the exception of people like Gabe and the Mayday movement we had on today. So please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. Please share this content. This can be the kind of thing, with your help and with your amplification, which has been so amazing. And by the way, we've got so many new subscribers just since you came on with me last week, Gabe, that can be the normal thing, that the major networks are forced to talk about, that the members of Congress are forced to answer to. This can be the normalized conversation, and it starts with us. It starts with you. So thank you all so much for being part of this, Gabe. Thank you. And I will remind everybody to go to your website, citizensimpeachment.com. He's not trying to raise any money, not trying to do anything but get you involved in the salvation of our democracy. Power is in your hands. Sign up. Please sign up there at citizensimpeachment.com.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
My pleasure. My pleasure. We'll talk again soon, my friend. So thank you, everybody, so much for joining us today on Lights On. Again, this is the home for action. This is the home for what needs to happen right now to save our democracy. There are constitutional means to get this illegal administration out of power now. They must be used. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. You can find out more about me at the Jessica Denson, thejessicadenson.com, thejessicadenson.com. I'm also the founder of the 14th Now movement, which you can find out about at nowmarch.org, nowmarch.org. We will be partnering with the Mayday movement. I'm really excited to bring more of their activity to the forefront. I really see these coalitions, these grassroots movements as the actors right now who are doing what needs to be done. And I am going to do everything in my power to amplify them. PSA, I did this a couple of weeks ago. There is no current fundraising going on for 14th Now. I want to make that incredibly clear. If anybody is attempting to raise funds in the name of 14th Now, please be crystal clear there. That is not a legitimate ask. There is no current fundraising going on for 14th Now. If we have a need in the future, it will be on nowmarch.org. But you can always support the movement just by signing up, subscribing here. Thank you, everybody, so much for being part of this with me. Thank you for joining us on this special live. And as always, let your light shine.